Welcome to the Popcorn Effect, the podcast where education, leadership, and innovation come together to spark powerful change. Just like popcorn bursts into something greater, we explore ideas, stories, and strategies that transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. So whether you're an educator, a leader, or an innovator, this is your space to ignite creativity, challenge the status quo, and lead with purpose. So tune in, get inspired, and get ready for a poppin' good time as we hear from innovators, inspirational, and passionate educators who are creating the popcorn effect wherever they go. I'm your host for this adventure, Sandra Donahue, and we are going to meet our guest and a leader in creating the popcorn effect wherever she goes. So she is a school culture aficionado. She is incredibly kind and positive with a tremendous passion for hyping up her staff and her students. She is an innovator. She is an academic herself with very high expectations. She is an aspiring almost author getting ready to publish that book. She is a change maker and an authentic and passionate leader and a friend of mine. We're going to welcome Dr. Brandi Brotherton. Welcome, Brandi.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're very excited to have this opportunity to connect with you. Been a big fan of your work behind the scenes. And now I was originally introduced to you online on X. And I was just loving the content that you were putting out there, the videos that you were sharing. But most recently, you've had a change to your role. And now you are the director of advanced academics, right? And post-secondary outcomes. Now, that's quite a mouthful, Brandi, but I would love for you to sort of unpack that for us in your current role, and then kind of how did you land in a role like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again for having me. I am a lifelong educator. This work is the assignment that has been given to me to be a difference maker and a change maker in the lives of our kids. And so how did I get to here, which I'm never thought I would be here, just honestly speaking. I started teaching when I was 22 years old in a Title I school in Houston, Texas, on the southwest side, an urban inner city school with about 4,000 kids.
Wow.
And I stayed at that school for 14 years as a teacher, basketball and track coach, as the advanced academic coordinator, as an assistant principal, and then as an associate principal prior to moving to my previous campus of 7 years where I was the principal, and then moving over to the district office. And so now I'm the director of advanced academics and post-secondary outcomes. And honestly, it was a very bittersweet move for me, having this emotion of excitement and joy to be able to spread this love that I have to a bigger scale, but leaving this place that we worked so hard to cultivate and to make into this amazing place where teachers and students alike loved to be. And so in this role of Director of Advanced Academics and Post-Secondary Outcomes, I'm now working with our campuses K through 12, our 42 campuses in our district, to really try to instill this culture of belief and excellence, cradle to career, from the time our students and families meet us face to face, to know that we have everything right here in our district that their students need to be not just academically successful, but successful young men and women whenever they leave us in their senior 12th grade year and exit out of our doors and can go in whatever realm that looks like for them. College, maybe, career, maybe, certification, whatever that looks like for them, there's a plan for them. They don't leave us blind, but with a path to success, no matter what that post-secondary state looks like.
Right. So that's like an incredible opportunity before you as well, right? To tap into that and to be able to do that. And you spoke so well about, sort of that journey, because I love how you're like, I had no idea I was going to land here. And, and sometimes that's just the way it goes. And your path is, ever twisting and winding. But I'm sure along that journey, you probably had many other opportunities come your way. But at some point when you were there and you were working so hard towards that, there must have been some kind of sign that told you, you know what, we're doing something pretty special here, right? Because you were creating something incredible. So is there like a story that, kind of really made you go, yes, we're on track? Things are coming together, whether it's, through the vehicle or the eyes of like a student or a staff member or a family?
Yeah, absolutely. So I follow a principal on all social media networks. You may have heard of him, Principal L, and his tagline is "I choose to stay." And so whenever you
Mm,
said these, hey, what is there a story that made you? My
yeah,
immediate thought was that Dr. Brotherton chooses to stay. I choose to
love
stay
it.
not only in public education, but I
Yeah.
choose to stay in my district.
Right.
And I bring my daughter to the school district where we work, which is not where we
Okay.
live. And
Okay.
so whenever I think about the why behind it, one distinct story comes to mind. I had a young man several years ago, and we were close. I wouldn't say that I didn't know I was his mentor at the time
Okay. Yeah.
until I received an email from the Texas Education Agency. That's our governing body.
Okay. Yeah.
Said, Dr. Brotherton, we want you to come and speak at our mid-regional winter conference because this student that is at your school or a previous alumnus has identified you as the single most important adult in their life
Oh my
and
God.
impactful adult. And I was like, oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
And so whenever I called this student and we began to have conversations, he said, Dr. B, you don't even know the impact that you had on me. He said, I received a scholarship to go out of state about 18 hours from Houston, full ride, and I'd never been. And I'd never visited the city, I'd never visited the town. And I'll never forget in the back hallway, you stopped me and asked me, had I ever visited this college? And I told you, no, I have never been. And you said, how are you going to go here and you've never visited? I'm going to buy your plane ticket, but don't tell anybody I'm going to buy your plane ticket. And so follow through the next morning, the student comes and tells me, Dr. B, the school is going to scholarship my plane ticket. And I said, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
In that moment, he said, you looked at me and told me something I'll never forget. He said, you looked at me and with tears in your eyes, you said, your kids will never, ever have to wonder if they can visit the college or university that they want to attend because of the choices that you're making in this hallway right now to choose success, and your choices are leading to the life that you will live. And now this kid makes a lot more money than I make, right? And
Yeah.
so he was able to go into that pathway and always look back and just see someone that believed in him. And
Yeah.
so in that moment, in that back hallway, whenever I think about that and whenever I received that email from TEA, it really just became this moment where choosing to stay is what I will forever do with regards
Right.
to public ed. Whenever I leave, whenever I leave this space, it will be because I'm retiring and going
Right.
on and have finished my time here. But really just that connection with the students.
Yeah. What a spectacular story, but I love that. You choose to stay. right?
Yeah.
And I think that that is so important because we do know that lots of opportunities are out there and there's spaces and places where you could occupy, I'm sure, without any trouble, but you do make a conscious decision and a choice to stay. And those students know that, right? They knew that, they felt that, and he knew that forever in you, he had that safe space, that person who he could rely on because of the choice that you made. And then obviously you helped him to make as well, which is such a great story. So I knew there was one. I knew there was probably many, but at least one for sure. And so I'm just also thinking too, like clearly this is a major passion for you, this type of work. Is there something that, has sort of led you to this idea of the importance of that academic excellence, that high standard, those high expectations for not only yourself, but your students, your staff, et cetera, maybe
Yes.
in your past? Yeah.
So in moving through this work, whether it was as a teacher or whether it was as a coach or assistant
Yeah.
principal or principal, my superpower, I feel, has always been connecting to people.
Yeah.
And you find that when you connect to people and they understand how much you truly care about them,
Yes.
and that even though you care about them, that means I'm going to hold you accountable to an even higher level. They start
Mm-hmm.
to respect you for that, right? And they start to want to work for you in order
Mm-hmm.
to move the work. And so I started to see these relationships just blossom, right? And I'm tough. Like people will be like, Dr. B is crazy. And I am. I am. I know I am. But it's like this crazy that I know that you have something in you that if we can just get it out, kids' lives will be changed forever. And so
Right.
that's what we've been able to see and create. And once it's created and once that culture is established, it's so much easier to not only maintain it, but to
Mm-hmm.
grow it because
Mm-hmm.
no one wants to break the standard. No one
Right.
wants to be the one that breaks what we've created. And so I tell parents on day one, I'm going to love your kids. Our teachers are going to love your kids. And we're going to tell them. And love is sometimes tough, right?
Yeah.
The end
Yes.
of the day, if you'll just trust us,
Mm-hmm.
we'll be in the business of not just creating academic scholars. That's going to happen naturally. But we're going to be in the business of creating young men and young women that can walk out into this hard, hard world and know who they are on the inside and be successful. And all of those things will drive the academic achievement. And that's really
Yeah.
what we saw blossom over the years.
Yeah, well, it's extremely evident because, when we all know as well, like just as a person, when somebody believes in you, when somebody supports you and has that has your back, so to speak. And so when you can create that, and like you said, you were doing it on, 4,000 students, it's a lot of people to try to, connect to, and a lot of staff, et cetera. But clearly your leadership style is one that allows people to see that, and it's very authentic as it sort of shines through. So I guess, with that in mind, like, is there a piece of advice, a couple of sort of things that you would say to current leaders or teachers that are in school about how to really make sure that you're expecting the most of yourself and others, and yeah, just a couple of those nice little pieces of advice that you would offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that leaders often try to separate love and accountability. And
Okay.
it's a tough thing to manage because we want to hold people accountable. We want them to have high standards. And we're
Yeah.
afraid sometimes that if we love them, then we've crossed a line and we won't be able to have that management of accountability. But
Okay.
I found that quite the opposite is true. Whenever you love people and you hold them accountable, then they rise to the occasion. They don't want to let you down. They don't want to let the kids down. They don't want to let
Yeah.
families down. They don't want to let the community down. And so, really, just balancing that love and accountability to say, oh, I love you too much to not let you be your best, right? For you not
Right.
to be your best. And whenever we do that, we just see everything fall into place. If we only focus on the numbers and we only focus on the data, which those things are very important as well, don't
Yes.
get me wrong, because
Mm-hmm.
that does have to drive what we do. But if we add in this piece of love and care, we see that people do things for people. They work for
Mm-hmm.
people, they stay for people, and they
Yeah.
love others for people. And so, really, just being able to merge these two ideas of love and accountability to create magic within our schools.
Oh, beautiful. And I think, again, that speaks to any person in any role in any school, right?
Yeah.
Because that's such a critical layer, right? So regardless, because again, you work K to 12, but I'm just thinking about that first year teacher, what a powerful message, up to the, brand new administrator who's entering into their first year into a new school or whatever. But those two things are so important. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that kind of a message. I think it's just incredible. So I'm thinking here, you're out there, you're driving everybody else's passions, you're tapping in. So how do you, keep your oil heated up, and how do you sort of ensure that you still are fueling yourself?
Well, that's such a great question because people always say, I don't think I have that capacity within me to be able to do these things, right?
Yes,
And I think everyone has the capacity within them because you don't have to do everything to do
yes,
something. And
right.
while some people have a larger capacity to be able to do more,
Yeah.
even littlest things matter. And for
Mm-hmm.
me specifically, I I love spending time with my family.
Mm-hmm.
I really set boundaries with regards to whenever I have been trying to go to bed, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because the the gold in me wants to check my email again and respond
yeah.
to messages and make sure everything is done. But I've come to a point in my life and in my career where I know
Mm-hmm.
that in order to pour into others, I have to take care of me. So
Right.
every morning at 3:30, my alarm goes off and I get up and I go to the gym.
Yeah.
And I am in the gym by 4 o'clock and I am back home by 5 o'clock. And now I can really get myself together in order to pour into other people. And so I think it's really just that intentionality of boundaries and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you hold your own self accountable to what you said you were going to do, even once that feeling that you set it in is gone. And so
Right.
I try to make sure that I take care of myself physically and mentally in that respect.
See, and yeah, that's so good because another, mentor of mine does the same thing. I get up early as well. And I think sometimes you have to just figure out in your pattern of life, where do certain things fit so that you can make sure that you're able to fuel yourself. Because we are called as leaders and as people who are in education to fuel others all the
Right.
time, right? So, and then we, come back in. Our family calls upon us too, right? And so, how can we be present for them if we are literally drained and depleted? So, it is such sound and sage advice. And I guess also too, like, clearly you were a track coach and, I'm sure you had to do a lot of that and you're used to doing those types of things, right? To fueling yourself and then fueling others. Yeah, just amazing. One of the things that's really, as well, I'm kind of reflecting on and thinking, in your, now you've had to transition a new person in, right, into your school, and I know you poured your heart and soul into that space, and you're like, so would you say that the work that has been started there, is it continuing and growing, and are they able to still continue to tap into you in your new role?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think
Yes.
that whenever you build capacity in
Yeah.
others, then they can sustain that no matter who the leader is, right?
Right.
And that culture remains because it's stable and it's on a strong foundation that is
Yeah.
grounded and pillared by standards that aren't negotiable. And so
Right.
whenever we think about like what's happening at my previous school, there is no option but success when you walk in that building because the people, right? And we're in the business of people. The people are
Yes.
still there. And
Yeah.
so they're able to maintain whatever it is that we created no matter who comes into that building. And so
Yeah.
that's just so heartwarming and so
Yeah.
fulfilling to me as well as the leader that was on the exit. And yes, absolutely, I'm able to still pour into and help and assist in any way that I can on that campus since I'm still in
Right.
my district, right? And so just really being able to have those positive relationships with the new principal and maintain the relationships with the teachers and the students to say that the foundation is unshakable. Here's
Yeah.
the playbook. Here are the answers. Go forth and be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, love that. Go forth and be great, everyone.
Yes.
Go forth and
Yes.
be great. We
Yes.
love it. So, final, like, Brandi, everybody's going to want to know, where can I find you? Where can I see these videos that Sandra's going on and on about? So where
Oh,
can people find you?
yeah. So on X, I am Brand Brotherton. On Instagram, I'm Brandi Brotherton with an I.
Yes.
And Facebook is the Culture Queen, Brandi
Oh,
Brotherton. Or you can reach me at www.theculturequeenllc.com.
amazing. And I love that, the culture queen, because you are definitely that and so much more. I just want to thank you so much for sharing your little kernels, your nuggets with us today, and to encourage you to keep on popping and keep that district hopping. I can't wait to hear about the amazing things. And for those of you who are watching today or listening, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on YouTube, and keep your oil heated. And until next time, what's your next pop?